Today is April 22nd, 2011. I am with Jeff Ray in his house, and we're going to talk about the trails and Henry County Healthy Communities. When did you begin to get involved with rail trails?
I started getting involved when Helen Stussy started having some public meetings on the trail because of your efforts, Hoosier Rails to Trails Council and Kevin Heber at the time, and having those rail corridor maps that said these were up for sale. So I went to one of the meetings in December '03, and in January '04 we applied for a transportation enhancement funding grant, and I did a lot of that because I didn't have a job. I was retired. So
where had you worked?
I used to work for Mariana Savings Bank, which is a Mariana Bank now, in Newcastle. At that time, I just got into the Trails Committee that was set up for Healthy Communities, and I helped with the Transportation Enhancement Funding application in January of '04. And of course that year we had to wait until December of '04 because of the death of Governor O'Bannon, and there was a delay in those awards being given. Then in January of '05 we we hired Butler, Fairman, and Seifert to start planning and designing the Wilbur Wright Trail Phase 1.
The Wilbur Wright Trail is on the rail line that went from what city to what city?
Well, it definitely went through Indianapolis and through Kennard, Newcastle, Moreland, and on to Springfield, Ohio. We want to put the Wilbur Wright Trail on that abandoned rail corridor. The Wilbur Wright Trail would go from Newcastle to LaSantville and join the Cardinal Greenway that goes from Richmond to Muncie on to Gas City and on to Marion.
What other corridors have you been looking at in Henry County?
One of the other trails is the Woolly Bear Parkway Trail, and it's on the same rail corridor as the Wilbur Wright Trail, but it's just the west side of the county. So it's going to go from Newcastle to Shirley. We do have an open section there that's rustic in Kennard for a mile west of Kennard that we've opened last year. So it's just dirt and whatever the surface is right now. Spent a lot of time cleaning that out, cutting down trees and brush so we could have the trail on the old corridor.
And so that's 1 mile right now.
Right, we're at 1 mile, though we do own more than that along there. The county owns more than that along there, but it's not continuous, so there is a continuous mile. Actually, it's 1.25 miles, but we've just worked on the first mile at this point. The other trail we have is the National Road Heritage Trail, and it runs along US 40 in the southern part of the county, which is a part of the statewide effort of the National Road Heritage Trail from east or west of Terre Haute to Richmond. And so it's going to go from the Illinois state line to the Ohio state line, and we're 20 miles of that, and we're also working on a section there. We've got 2 sections open there now because we got a DNR grant back in August of '08, and then we opened that trail up in August of '09. 2 sections, 2.5 miles from Louisville west, and then from the middle part of Raysville on West Street we go east 1.75 miles. So there's about a 4.5 mile section in there that's not open, and we're working now to acquire those parcels. We own some of that already. We just need to acquire some of those parcels So we're working on a 13-mile transportation enhancement funded parcel acquisition that would result in 13 miles of the National Road Heritage Trail in Henry County. Once again, we own some of those parcels between the open sections, so we have to acquire about 15 parcels we're working on in that 13 miles.
How did Healthy Communities acquire, or the county acquire, the corridors which are now open? What was the process?
Process on that was we received back in '04 and '05 Heritage Trust, Indiana Heritage Trust grants to acquire those parcels. Then we were working with the Heritage Trust folks, and but at the same time, IROCO was finishing their process as an organization, and then we needed to talk with a new organization called Equus, and then that's when we realized that this was larger than us, and we went and had a meeting with NDOT and DNR and Heritage Trust, and they all stepped up and said, we'll work with Federal Highways on this and get all the acres in Henry County, and then after that they decided that they would do it in 39 counties. And so in December of '07, I believe it was, Governor Daniels announced that they had come to an agreement with Equus to acquire rail corridor parcels in Indiana, and Henry County was the largest recipient of those acres. So it's somewhere around a little over 200 acres was acquired by the state with DNR and NDOT's help. And then in March of '09, the county acquired the parcels from the state. The county commissioner sent a letter asking for DNR to send those, to transfer ownership to the county.
And since the Henry County Healthy Communities was already established and pushing this, you have cleaned the trail, opened the trail, or what's happened since acquiring the land?
Since acquiring the land, we've worked to try to acquire other parcels with those Heritage Trust funds, and then also with the Transportation Enhancement Grant on the National Road Heritage Trail. We received $450,000 with your help at one time, and DNR's help. We received that in October of '04. Maggie Kerman came to Newcastle and presented that big check for us, and then we had to wait until we knew that DNR and NDOT had acquired those parcels from Equus, and we then got busy starting, and then DNR, part of the $19 million that Governor Daniels allocated towards trails, we received $650,000 of that, and then that's allowed us to open up over 4 miles of trail on the National Road Heritage Trail. And then after that happened, then we said, well, let's get busy and let's start to acquire some of the other parcels so that we can make it a 13-mile continuous trail in that area. Now we've continued to work on the Wilbur Wright Trail with that $1,306,000 Transportation Enhancement Grant. This year we will start construction on the first 2 miles of the Wilbur Wright Trail, and that'll be a asphalt trail, and it'll start on the north side of Newcastle at the YMCA and go northeast towards the Wilbur Wright Fish and Wildlife Area, and in there with 2 miles, which would be the first phase.
What are some of the next steps now to go through in any of the process? You talked about getting asphalt for the Wilbur Wright in the next year or so. Do you see anything happening with the Woolly Bear or with the next steps with the National Road Heritage Trail?
Well, with the National Road Heritage Trail, with the ongoing transportation enhancement funding, land acquisition, we've done the title work. We've done the appraisals are being done now. The review appraisals are being done now. We're waiting on those to get back, and then we'll work towards making offers for the parcels that we don't own right now, which, like I said, is 15 in that 13-mile section. So that will get us a trail from Knightstown east of Louisville, about 1.75 miles. So it's a pretty good distance for our county.
How far is that?
13 miles.
From Knightstown?
To the east side of Louisville.
13 miles. Well, that will be good. Now, when are you going to acquire that land?
Well, we're working on that right now, and hopefully that gets done within the next year. Next 6 months, hopefully, the next 6 months that gets done.
And then once that's acquired, then would you open it as a gravel trail, or are you looking for asphalt?
Right now it's stone on the sections that are open, and we would have to go find some money to continue that process of, stone being put down.
Sure.
I don't know. I have no idea when that would happen. Right now it's a monumental task just to acquire the parcels. So that is the ultimate goal, is to open up a crushed stone trail.
Okay, so the crushed stone is your objective there.
Yes.
You're not necessarily going for the asphalt.
No, because when you've got a 5-phase project in the Wilbur Wright Trail, that's where it's going to consume your money. You have to come up with 20% local match on $1 million project every time. That's $300,000 you've got to come up with every time. So for our county, being a rural county, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand that. What are some of the things that you've learned along the way that you just didn't know anything about? What have you become experienced in?
Well, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this if we hadn't have had your start, or we wouldn't have had DNR Outdoor Rec, Division of Outdoor Rec, right there with us, or NDOT, or especially Governor Daniels with his Trails Initiative. So the State Trails Plan has worked very well for us. If we hadn't had all those, we wouldn't be sitting here having this discussion. And so we're very fortunate to have that, to have the additional funding that's still there to help with acquiring other parcels. It's been a lot of time in the courthouse, and some of those employees are tired of seeing Jeff Ray in the courthouse. Here comes that trail guy again. It's kind of hard to say, because you just react to things that have been given you. Having worked in a savings and loan for 19 years and taken loan applications and looked at abstracts, and all that kind of stuff comes back. You use it, you see it, you just kind of react to, the appraisal process, you understand the appraisal process, you understand the acquisition process. You may not accept it because it is such a timely and time-consuming process, but you do understand it. You know that everybody is out there helping you. There's a lot of help out there to help you with anything that I seem to be a pretty quick study, and everybody pretty much allows me to do it all. So I've had to learn to deal with people a lot more patience than I used to. Didn't think that this process would take this long. It's been 8 years, almost 8 years, and I don't know. You just kind of do it. whether it's running a chainsaw like you did when you were a kid, cutting a tree down that's on the trail, or going down and having to fix a sign, or try to keep ATVs off the trail by putting in steel fence posts on the access areas. You know, it's just a everyday kind of jack of all trades.
You've gotten used to a lot of this, but in the banking world, I take it you did study a lot of mortgages and deeds, so that came fairly easily, reading deeds and understanding.
Yeah, I think if you've been in that savings and loan business and you've looked at a loan file, you see those kind of documents, and you know where you need to go look, and you know what they're saying, and reading a property description is pretty fuzzy sometimes, and which side of the corridor is it on, and so you just kind of pick up that stuff and you go with it. Sorry to say, some people might be overwhelmed by it, but it's just part of the process, and you have to learn it and go with it.
Well, I think that you explained it very well.